Hey, good morning. This is a lesson about static variables and static methods. We've all been familiar with the word static because we've seen it every time we write a main method. Public static void main with the parameter string square brace args, the pirate talk. Take a look before me. You'll find a number of phrases. So we start with the first phrase on line 11, remember the Alamo, and we print it out. And on line 14 we have another phrase, I can't breathe, and we print it out. And on line 17 we continue with a new phrase, hands up, don't shoot, and we print it out. And in line 20 we have a phrase, talk is cheap. And line 23 we have a phrase which pertains to Java, write once, run anywhere. Finally, on line 27 we have an output which calls the method getCount, but instead of calling it by any one of these objects 1 through 5, it calls it by using the name of the class. When a method is called simply by the name of the class, we know it must be a static method. So let's look into the phrase class and see how this is done. Well, it seems quite ordinary, public class phrase. However, on line 4 we start to notice that we have a variable static int count. And we haven't really looked and found a static variable before, but I can tell you this in a simple sentence. The variable count is shared by all instances of the class. Let me repeat it because that's simply what it is. The variable count is shared by all instances of the class, meaning that each instance, every time we create a phrase in the other file, they all have the same variable count. So when we create a phrase, we simply increase the count by 1. And every instance that we create can access that variable count. So that's it for static variables. Now on line 15 we have a static method in an otherwise non-static context. So again, we saw when we call getCount in the other program, this method is shared by all instances of the class and can be called by the class name. And it essentially just returns count. Let's see what the program looks like when we run it. Give you a little bit of space here to see. We'll compile. The output's a little bit big. And there are our 5 slogans. Remember the Alamo, I can't breathe, hands up, don't shoot, talk is cheap, write once, run anywhere. And it outputs the number of phrases entered as 5. So looking back at that, You can see all of the phrases that we've begun and outputting the phrase .getCount. So, just to look back at phrase before we conclude, a static variable is a variable that's shared by all instances of the class. So each time a phrase is created, the count goes up by 1 and all the other instances know about it. A static method is again shared by all instances of the class and can be called using the class name. So your assignment is to come up with your own example of a class that uses a static variable and a static method. And this will be the final assignment for the year. So good luck. We'll Zoom about it. But you can get a start on it. The sooner you complete it, the sooner you're done with the class. It's been my pleasure to teach you this year. And God bless all of you.